Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're listening from in the world. My name is Jacqueline Dixon, and you're tuned in to the Ordinary People Show. Ordinary people can do extraordinary things. And we're broadcasting live from Toronto, Canada, powered by GBKM Network. You can find us on GBKM, www.gbkm.tv, or maybe you're watching us on our Facebook, GBKM Network. So happy to see you, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure you tell a friend to tell a friend, like and share the page. Share the page with your feed, with your network, because today's show is going to be a doozy. We've got movers, shakers, and policymakers behind the scenes, and we're ready to talk about solutions once again. So we're not going to spend a whole bunch of time with our pleasantries today because I want to get my panel guest on board as quickly as possible. Once again, my name is Jacqueline Dixon. Thank you for tuning into the Ordinary People Show today on this May 2-4 long weekend. If you're in Canada, and if you're in the U.S., then you're probably getting ready to celebrate Memorial Weekend, which is next weekend. So it'll be all about you guys next weekend. But right now, it's all about us. And we are certainly enjoying the sun rays, the sunshine. We so much deserve it here in Ontario. And we're also getting ready to count down. We finally have some parameters as to when our lockdown here in Ontario will start to ease. And our countdown starts, and the countdown to June the 14th has already started. And I know that a lot of people are going to be getting the patio set ready and the barbecue grill and all of those things so that we can start to socialize in just maybe minimal ways to start with, but being able to simply get out and move around the city once again is going to be something that we all look forward to. So thank you so much to our Premier for giving us some dates to now start planning around. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for tuning in. As I said, we want to thank our sponsors. We want to thank everybody that's tuned in today. Our number one sponsor today is New Era Communications. New Era Communications provides professional sales training and is a speaking platform for up-and-coming entrepreneurs and sales professionals. Would you like to learn about the gift that keeps on giving? That's the sales process, ladies and gentlemen, and you need to contact neweracommunications.ca to find out more. For those of you who pay attention on social media, you know what's up. It's Mental Health Awareness Month, and we are doing our part to communicate, to provide solutions, to answer questions, bring some real value to the conversation. And that's why today's show is dedicated to our youth and mental health. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and I'm going to be right back with our panel guests that are waiting in the wings. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after the break. Hello and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I promised you it'd be a quick one. Welcome back to GBKM Network. My name is Jacqueline Dixon. You're tuned into the Ordinary People Show. And for those of you who would like to be on our website, or for those of you who want to visit our website, our brand new platform is www.gbkm.tv. Get on over there, okay? Get on over there and download our absolutely free app, so that you can take the Ordinary People Show wherever you go, and so many of the other wonderful live programs that GBKM Network puts out on a weekly basis. You will never miss another program because you'll be notified each and every time we go live by simply downloading our free app, and that's at www.gbkm.tv. Ladies and gentlemen, I have a doozy of a show for you today. It's a topic that is near and dear to my heart, which is mental health. You've heard me say it once. You're going to hear me say it many, many times going forward. This is not a closet issue anymore. We're out of the closet on this one, ladies and gentlemen, and we're going to stay out of the closet. We're going to keep having those sometimes very uncomfortable conversations, but meaningful ones, ones that bring solutions. And this is what I aim to bring to you today, another conversation full of solutions. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce my first panel guest to the show. My first panel guest is no stranger to GBKM. She's my go-to clinical associate psychologist. She's a PhD, Dr. Edna Irie, and Dr. Edna works with Advanced Health. She's a clinical associate there with Advanced Health, and she believes that obstacles do not have to stop you. If you run into a wall, don't turn around and give up. Figure out how to climb it and go through it or work around it. And that was those were comments by Michael Jordan. And Dr. Edna, I just want to thank you and welcome you to the Ordinary People Show. Welcome, Dr. Edna.
Thank you.
And our next panel member we have is Isabel Cotton. Officer Isabel Cotton is a police constable with the Toronto Police Services. And Isabel is with Toronto Police Services. She's in a brand new position. She is the new Youth Engagement Officer, and she's currently attached to the Community Partnership and Engagement Unit, where she is actively engaged with Toronto's neighborhoods via community mobilization projects and programs. Thank you so much. Welcome to the Ordinary People Show, Officer Isabel Cotton.
Thank you.
And our next panel member is, again, no stranger to GBKM TV. He's a mover, he's a shaker, and he is definitely one that is definitely going to carve some of the policies going forward in the GTA. None other than the founder of Keep6.org himself, Mr. Richard Miller. Hello, Mr. Richard Miller. How are you?
Very good, Jackie. Thank you for having me again. It's my pleasure seeing you, and great panel tonight.
Yeah. And congratulate you for all of your efforts. And I want to congratulate all my panel members today for all of your efforts that you make in the community. Keep doing what you're doing. We notice you. I see you. I appreciate you. Notice today I'm repping my Keep 6 t-shirt, ladies and gentlemen, okay? I aim to do some service to the Keep 6 crew. And I want to just quickly talk about the gangs for tuition before we move into our topic, our main topic of conversation, which of course is youth mental illness or youth mental health. And I want to talk about gangs for tuition. Gangs for tuition is your baby. Richard, and that came out of the Keep 6 platform. And for those of you who are not familiar with Keep 6 just about yet, let me tell you, but they've got this Gangs for Tuition program that just launched in Brampton. And I think we've got some footage on it, and maybe my producer can locate it after our next commercial break. What a fantastic launch. Kudos to you. Congratulations. So you just partnered with who? Can you tell us who you've just recently partnered with, Richard?
So we, thank you very much again. So at the present time, we have a relationship support from the Peel Regional Police and the City of Brampton, Mayor Patrick Brown, for this program. This Gang Situation program is a collective effort with multiple community partners, stakeholders in vigorous areas of mental health, social reintegration, and employment. It's a program I've been working along with for about 2 years now, and finally we're able to get it out with the support of other community members and partners. We had everyone from defense lawyer Jordana Goldlist, who's worked tirelessly assisting me to develop the program to be where we are today, and other defense lawyers in the GTA.
Fantastic. Congratulations to you. And we're going to be looking for some footage from that. My producer's going to be looking for some footage. Hopefully, we'll be able to share that before the interview wraps up today. So, let's talk about our subject matter at hand. I've got with me what I believe is a qualified panel list of panel members. Officer Isabel Cotton, I just read just a brief paragraph from her bio. She's so much more than what I've talked about. I personally was introduced to Officer Isabel about 2 years ago. And I ran into her just by chance at the Jamaican Canadian Center. And I just want to share this story with you. This is how wonderful it is to, how meaningful it is to reach out into other communities. I was at the Jamaican Canadian Center. We were celebrating the kickoff of Black History Month. And our chief at that time, Chief Saunders, was there. And this was an event that was being put on by the Toronto Police Services. And it was fantastic. It was a packed audience. The chief was there, and they made themselves so accessible to the general public. And the performances that took place, the speeches that took place. And I looked around and I said, who put this on? This is so good. And I remember somebody pointing to this lady in the corner, and I had to do a double take. I saw this tiny little redhead, which is, she's a very beautiful lady. Although she's a police officer, she's still a very beautiful lady. And I couldn't believe, I said, her? So I went over and I introduced myself, and we struck up a conversation, and it's been, I think, a great relationship ever since. To know that this lady came into our community and put on an event for our community right in our own backyard. And that meant a lot to me. It showed that clearly she has the compassion, the empathy, and the care to want to even do that. So thank you very much. And she's been an active supporter of the community for quite some time now. So we want to make sure that we support her in whatever she's doing as well. Today's conversation is youth mental illness. I'm sure all of you know that it's Mental Health Awareness Month. Dr. Edna, I'm sure you're busy like crazy. Like, you are one of the busiest women out there, and I have to always cross my fingers if I can ever get you on my show whenever you give me the opportunity to do that. Everything that we are doing, or you panel members are doing right now within your respectful organizations, have some sort of an affiliation with mental illness in one way, shape, or form. So in your particular case, Dr. Edna, you are a PhD, specifically dealing with mental illness matters, and you actually drill down into the Black community. You specialize in issues that affect people of color, specifically Blacks. Am I correct?
Yes.
Yes, wonderful. So then you can speak to the fact that I have pulled some statistics here, and maybe you can help me with this. So child and youth mental illness. Approximately 1 in 5 children and youth in Ontario has a mental health challenge. Not if, not maybe, not possibly, they have a mental health challenge. And about 70% of mental health challenges have their onset in childhood or youth. That's why early identification and intervention is so critical, and it can actually lead to improved achievements in school, better health and life outcomes, such as not getting involved in criminal activities and or gangs. Can you support that, Dr. Edner? Can you speak to that statistic at all?
Yeah, I think, thank you so much for inviting me again. And I'll say my other panelists, I know Richard, and the lady is the first time I'm meeting her. So welcome to all of us. So Jackie, with the report that you've read, it's so true. I don't work with children, but I can speak to some of the, psychological or mental health challenges that children encounter, because children kind of feed off from the environment, particularly from the home. And so you can see that with the adult life, there's a lot of mental health symptoms or manifestation of mental health related behaviors like stress, anxiety, depression. And so the children in the environment, the first thing that they get in contact with are their parents. Even there's like the prenatal period, there's a lot of studies showing how mother's depression actually affects a child's level of mood or coping or depression. So with the statistics in Canada, it's true. And it's very equivalent to the adult statistics, the 1 in 5, and the onset of even adult mental health, it's among 70%, of childhood people or childhood experiences, or people who may have encountered a mental health in their childhood, which is quite significant. And mental health is very broad, right? So you have the mood disorders, you have personality disorders, you have very general, very broad, people with ADD, ADHD as well. And all these things kind of manifest in the Black community. Unfortunately, it's like we are just coming to the table, to actually discuss mental health in our community and put a name to symptoms and behaviors. They've always been there, but we just didn't have access to the right tools because of lack of, I would say, professionals trained, in this field. And psychology is a field that I would say it's racially biased. There are very few Black people in this profession. So to have professionals who are trained to diagnose, assess, and even provide intervention is limited. But given the awareness that is coming up, a lot of people in the Black community are beginning to speak about it. So first things first, when you're looking at maybe a child or a youth with a mental health problems, it starts with a decline in the academic functioning. This is like general standard, that we all are supposed to know, whether you work with children and youth or not. So you look at the decline in the academic performance. Maybe they were doing very well and suddenly there's a drop. So as a parent, you need to pay attention. You need to look into what is
And
happening.
thank you. So, and we're going to get to those causes and effects and solutions. Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that. We're going to, so please keep that in mind. We're going to get to, how can a parent identify? What are the identifying traits of a child that could potentially have a mental illness challenge? And I always say, listen, today's show is, first of all, it's about solutions. Every show that we bring on this network is about solutions. We're going to talk about solutions, but we're also going to have to identify that there is a problem to begin with. And now that we're all in agreement, and it seems like society is moving in the direction of agreeing that we do have these challenges and we have to accept them, we have to face them, and now we have to look for ways of either preventing them or dealing with them going forward. So I say this, a youth that is challenged with mental health issues becomes an adult that is challenged with mental health issues, unless you can deal with the situation, correct it, or find some ways of leveling out these imbalances that take place. Dr. Edna touched on the fact that mental health is a very broad issue, and it is. And I try to get that point across every time I speak as well. It covers so many various different type disorders, and there's anxiety. That is a mental health issue to itself. And of course, there's attention deficit, ADHD, and ADD, which is attention deficit disorder. There's depression and other mood disorders. There's schizophrenia. there's eating disorders. So all of these various different ailments, disorders fall under the mental health umbrella. So identifying where your potential issue could be is critical to that, or identifying where the issues that your child might have is critical to that. Then it's about getting help, right? Then it's about finding some solutions. And I know that in Officer Isabel's case, we can just bring her in now. Maybe she can tell us about a little bit about her background and why she feels that her background could be of service to this position that she now holds. And then, of course, elaborate on the position that you hold and what solutions that you hope to bring.
Thank you, Jacqueline. Mental health is one of the topics that, to me, it's very, very important. Because it's one of those things that I remember me as a kid, my self-esteem was very, very low. And the thing is now, because we talked about it, and the thing when I was in my teenage, and even when I was in university. So if you don't talk about it, nobody will know that you suffer from mental health. And that's a problem, because I always tell people, don't look at an image, don't look at a smile and thinking that this person is totally fine. And it's one of the things why that to me, and I look with what's happening with COVID and behind closed door, and when I think about it, sometimes you think about like child abuse, domestic, and you don't know what's happening now. And with virtual, lots of people don't have internet, don't have access to that. And when you look at one of my job that I do right now, it's really I go to the grassroots people, and I really try to reach out to the people that live in TCHC, that live in those conditions. And when I talk to them, it's really devastating. And yes, we can talk about it, and it's good to talk about it, but it's a major problem. And to me, it's like I look at COVID, and when it starts to get better, what are we going to do? And I think having this conversation right now and getting ready to be part of the solution after COVID, it's so important, because so a couple of weeks ago, that was Mental Health Awareness Week, and I did awareness for mental health. And I have this relationship with youth that it's quite easy for me to build relationship. And I talked about having videos, and they all wanted to do video. But having those conversations, it's real. It's real. Like, people talked about, healing themselves. People talked about like what's happening right now. It's they don't have access to their friends. And that's one of the things that I want to bring to the TPS. It's like, okay, we have all those services, but in terms of youth, what type of services are they using? They are not going to go to 9 o'clock to talk to somebody. Everything is online. So what are we using now? We have to talk to them. We need to learn from them. How can we help them? But it's got to be from their voice, from what they think is the solution. It cannot be from us. And
Isabel, let me just quickly ask. So as a youth engagement officer, so that's your position, right? And
Yeah.
as you just mentioned, right now, because of COVID, you can't go out and physically make contact with the people that you would be serving. So everything is kind of online. So here's my question to you. Because at the end of the day, you're still a police officer, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And, the police and youth, there's friction there to begin with. How do you, as a police officer, engage youth for all the right reasons? Because you've got all the right reasons, but how do you engage them knowing that you're coming from the perspective that you're a police officer?
Mm-hmm. And I have to tell you, the challenge of when I started to work, for example, with the Black community and youth, my goal was I had a list of, I don't know, 35 community centers. And I went on my own time. I went to visit, I called the community center and I said, I want to meet with the youth. And so the thing is, like, the first conversation you have, they will not like you. And I respect that. The thing is, like, I represent something that they have their own experience. I don't know what happened to them. And it's not, that's very important for me to understand that, because I know the background. And so when they're telling me that they don't like the police, I'm okay with that. That doesn't mean they don't like me. They don't like what I represent. And this may be because of different experiences. So for me, when I do the outreach to youth, I'm me. I'm just Isabel. I'm just like the person that you can connect with. And I think it's important. And it's important for me to understand that I still represent the police, something that some of them are very afraid. And I mean, it takes time. And it was the same when I started to work with the Black community and the marginalized community. And what I did was listening. I went to so many meetings. Like every night I was going to meetings, and I just listened. And because I was not aware of everything that was happening in the Black community, in the marginalized community. So it's so important to listen and to learn about it, and trying to have those conversation. And communication is so important, because sometimes we may say something and there's miscommunication. And everything that I do, I always make sure that I'm respectful to the community culturally. To me, it's very important. I make sure that that I have the respect to the community, and I think it's the same than youth. I mean, if you have to build this respect, and I think it's the same. They are. I always tell them, like, I learned so much from them. They are very smart, and when I work with them, I listen to them, and I'm just fascinated by what they can bring in terms of solution. And that's a little bit how I connect with
Thank
the.
you. Thank you so much for that. And it sounds like you're doing all the right things. It sounds like what you've done is you do your research, you've been out there, and I can attest you're out there, you're listening and you're learning, and you gathered all of that information first before you started to act. And I do like also the statement that you made that, when you are acting within the capacity of a youth engagement officer, you act, you represent, you're introducing yourself as Isabel first, and then of course knowing, staying very cognizant to the fact that yes, you are still a member of the Toronto Police Services unit, but you're introducing yourself as Isabel. So that's really cool. So now let's just talk about Toronto Police Services for a quick bit, because I mean, you're a young woman, you're a smart woman, and I'm wondering to myself, you could have probably done so many different things with your life, with your career. My question to you is, why did you choose the police services?
Oh my gosh. This is a long, I'm just the type of person I remember, I'm from a very small village. And I remember telling my parents at age 10, I'm going to the city. I will go to school. And I remember thinking I'm going to be a business person. And so in Quebec, so at 16, I moved to Quebec City, what was about 8 hours from my parents' house. And I was in Quebec City. I went to college and I started to do my university. And I remember at 19, I called my parents and said, I'm going to Toronto. Couldn't speak English at all. And so my parents were very supportive all the time. And so I went to Toronto and I found a place where I started to be like part-time nanny, and I went to school at the same time. And I had to learn, I was in university and I had to learn English. And it just happened one day that I saw an ad to become a police officer, and I applied. And it was one of those things that was very exciting for me, but I never thought about it. And so when I started, and that was very the opposite of what I wanted to do. I thought I was going to work in fashion. And so when I started as a police officer, that was very, very challenging, because you have to remember I was quite young. I went to a place where it was the city. So I was placed in the city of Toronto, but it was a division where it was very difficult to get. So I was very young if I compare with the other.
And you're also a woman.
And I'm
You're
also a
also a
woman.
woman. So,
And at
but
the time, yeah, and
for
at the time we only had few women. And think about it, I go there, I'm a woman and I have a French accent and I'm very young. So that was very difficult.
3 strikes.
Yeah. Yeah, and it was very, very, very difficult. I have to admit, the first year, I thought about quitting. And the thing is, like, we all have different situations. My situation was, and I'm glad now that the service is looking at. So what happened when you start as a police officer? You have a coach officer, and I did not have a good experience with the coach officer. So, and that's your first experience. That's the person that you are always with. And now what I see, the changes they are doing with the Toronto Police Service, they are making sure that the coach officers are trained, are leaders in the service to train new recruits. So that will make a big difference because I did not have that. I did not have the chance. And I think it's important now to talk about changes.
Thank you. So would you encourage other females to go into look into becoming a police officer with Toronto Police Services? Is that something that you would encourage other females to do?
I think we need female police officers. We need people that think outside the box. We need diversity, and I will say that the number one priority of the service should be recruiting. Right from the start, we should recruit diversity, and we should recruit people with compassion.
Thank you.
And I think women, we should, 100%. That's what we need.
Fantastic. Love that. Okay, listen, now just a segue. This is a nice segue now. So we're talking about the police. We've got a wonderful representative from TPS here talking about, the role that she plays within the organization and the good work that she's been doing. And we congratulate her for that. The Toronto Police Services, and this has nothing necessarily to do with Isabel, because she's just one member of this huge organization doing her part. But the Toronto Police Services, and Richard, you and I had this conversation the last time you were on when we had when we had Ontario Human Rights Commissioner on. We were talking about the amount of monies that the Toronto Police Services is in charge of and how much money goes through their hands and how the money is being allocated. The fact that the police in 2017 and 2018, the operating expenditures for the Toronto Police, this is just the Toronto Police, was policing had reached 15.1 billion. Okay, and that between 2000 and 2018, the amount expended on police services had increased by over 37%. The RCMP were allocated 3.5 billion, and 100 billion. Vancouver, they had 100 billion. The city of Toronto, the city's 1.6 billion operating budget. Okay, so sorry. So for instance, in Toronto, since 2013, the police budget has increased by 19.4%. It is now over $1.1 billion in Toronto, while the city's investment in social services have only increased by 13%. So obviously, there's a disconnect proportionally between how much the budget for the police are increasing versus the amount of money that they're spending on social issues. And that obviously falls into your court now because you're one of those individuals who is fighting for more transparency and more accountability from the police, their services. We need more programs for social services that can potentially veer our youth in the right direction so that they don't get involved in the criminal justice system. What do you have to say about that, Richard?
Well, to start off is we have to stop and look at the work that's been done. It's wonderful to say that they're doing. There's officers like Officer Isabel, who's doing the work. Um, but remember, there's a small percentage of individuals like herself. You have individuals at a higher level that are making decisions, and the decisions they're making, members from the community is not at the table for these decisions. So how are you going to be telling me that you're trying to make changes, but individuals that can speak on the changes that's needed is not at the table? And then one of the famous things that's very common with them is that the organization that's in the community, that's doing the work, and you reach out to them, they says, well, we have no money, right? So we are aware that they have X amount of dollars, but I personally feel, and what I've come to conclusion with, that they already have those money allocated to their members who they want and who's been getting this money on a continuous basis. The funds that's needed and the support that's needed in the community to do the work, to make the changes, and individuals that's doing it, like Keep Six and other organizations out here, are not seeing the support and the funds to do the work. So
Okay.
how do we make these changes? The members of the community have to be at the table when it comes time to make these decisions.
Right.
And that's what I'm calling for.
So the first thing I would say is that, is it fair to say that you would like to see the police invest more money in departments like the one that Isabel is currently in? You would like, should she be getting more money, more resources in order to reach out and make connections with the youth in the community? Is that some of the things that you would recommend?
Yes, but also I would definitely recommend that. But we have to stop and also look at building that relationship in the community. You have individuals like Isabel and there's other individuals who are in the community doing the work, but they have that relationship, but they need that support that they're not themselves getting from the higher brass, right? That's the problem right there. So how can they continue to do the work and the community member be able to build that relationship to fix the problem? Because don't forget, we already having and dealing with a lot of trauma from the police itself. They already have that reputation. You can't, put that in the back of the door and just leave it there. So we have to address all these issues. If you're going to say, well, we want to fix things and we're trying to make it better for the future generations and these youth, you have to stop and look at all the mistakes you've done over the decades and all the trauma that these families and these youth is carrying. Because it's not going to go away. It's just been passed on down the stream.
Okay. All right. So you know what? I know that you've just recently launched a huge initiative with the city of Brampton. And I'm sure you're probably working your way towards replicating that same thing with the City of Toronto Police Services. But let's just take a look at this launch, this video that your organization has put out as a result of entering into a partnership with the City of Brampton Police Services, and hear what you've got to say after the video.
Hello everyone, just wanted to send a quick message out to acknowledge the fantastic work that keep6.org is doing for youth in our region, especially the Gangs for Tuition initiative.
After working in children's mental health for almost 20 years, I've worked with young people who feel that the only way to deal with past trauma, feed, clothe, or shelter themselves or their family is through a life of gang activity.
We need to address the underlying causes of why individuals get involved in gangs and create opportunities for growth and development. This program will open the door to positive and meaningful pathways for youth.
Gangs for Tuition strives to support young people to make better choices for a positive lifestyle by providing training and transferable skills.
We're collaborating with the Keep Six organization to provide opportunities for youths, adults in the region of Peel.
TRAP stands for the Transition and Recidivism Action Plan. As we know, there's been an increase in violence in the streets of Toronto. TRAP was created to fill the void for those underserved, and overrepresented in the criminal justice system.
Individuals can now enroll in the TRAP program through the Keep Six Gangs for Tuition initiative.
I met Richard approximately 2 years ago, and he shared with me his idea and vision to address the underlying causes of gangs and to provide education and skill development to individuals that want to exit the gang lifestyle.
The reality of gangs and guns is that addressing root causes can change outcomes for youth at risk and people who are looking to rehabilitate with wraparound supports.
And a lot of those that are facilitating this program are individuals that are real, authentic, organic mentors who've gone through similar experiences and are able to relate on a personal level. And I think that's what really makes the Gangs for Tuition program so much more unique.
Many people have worked tirelessly to put this program together so that the youth in our community can have a chance at a brighter future.
This program is possible because of a collaborative effort between multiple community partners in various areas like mental health, social reintegration, and employment services.
With the help of Peel Police, we are proud to support the launch of Gangs for Tuition, an initiative by Keep Six, aimed at changing the trajectory of the lives of those whose path has been rocky.
We've taken the time to support our youth and young men and women, to build them to be a positive role model in our community. We have to come together and work as a team. Come and join us for the launch of Keep Six Gangs for Tuition program.
Awesome, awesome. Love that video. That just gets me so inspired every time I see that. So let's talk about the solutions now. We heard panel members, you all shared your viewpoint on, the causes and effects of youth, mental illness and whatever part you're doing to try to curb this. But let's talk about parents now and their role in identifying these causes, as Dr. Edna touched on earlier, that, if we're I said it too. I said, listen, a youth that is challenged with mental illness becomes an adult that is challenged with mental illness unless we can find some solutions on how to deal with these issues. So parents have a lot to do with whether or not, their child can successfully navigate their way through adolescence with minimal interaction or minimal, I've lost the word here now, but minimal experience or exposure, to mental health challenges. Some of the signs of mental illness, can we talk about that, Dr. Edna? Some of the signs of mental illness within a youth. If you're a parent and if you're watching this show and you've got a youth or you know somebody that does have a youth, there are ways in which you can identify potential long-term issues that they can have. And maybe you can touch on that, Dr. Edna, because what we're trying to do is we're trying to keep them out of having to even get involved with the Gangs for Tuition program, right? Because we know that, having mental health issues leads you to trying to find solutions on your own, and a lot of the times they enter into gangs as a result of that. So go ahead with your suggestions as far as signs are concerned.
So I'll say two things and then I'll jump in. So first of all, I truly appreciate today's program, because I've been in Toronto, I think this is my 13th year, and I've always been wondering, when are we going to talk about solutions as Black people? Because for me, I felt so tired of the same narrative. It's so generational. And I keep wondering, I keep asking people, do you think the perpetrator will one day tell you, I'm sorry? It might not happen, because when you look at the psychological dynamics of a perpetrator, the moment I tell you I'm sorry, I'm giving away my power. And the only thing I have that I use to control you every day is the psychological manipulation of power. So I wouldn't. So it is you coming to that point of realizing that I am the one that can start fixing my society, start fixing the next generation. So I truly appreciate today's program, Richard. Thank you so much, because time has to come where we have to say that this is the intersection. Enough is enough. We're going to do our best, whether you collaborate with us, but we're going to push it. And I think that's what we're doing, right? So starting from the family, the parents will have to know that every child's brain, look at the brain, we divide it into three parts, right? The hindbrain, which is connected to your spinal cord. So when you look at how a fetus is growing, and then you come to the midbrain, which is like where the emotion sits. Then you have the forebrain. Unfortunately, the forebrain is for executive functioning, decision making, planning, and all that, but it develops late. It's 80% of the entire human brain develops quite late in your either your early 20s, or mid 20s on the average. So a child growing up, the cerebellum is working, like you're moving, you're walking. Your emotional brain is also kind of activated. But the neuroscientists will tell you that 80% of the information in that emotional brain is negative. And it's coming from the absorption of things in the society. So, but you see, so by the time somebody comes to us for therapy, it's like you're going to script things that are like 30 years old, and I usually would tell them, like, it's like, let's go into the closet. And you go in and it's all full of junk. And they are in therapy for so long. So if we start from the family, from their childhood, where we are feeding this brain, exposing them to healthy information, healthy parenting skills and all that, I think as a community, we're going to save like the next generation or a whole lot of people. So when it comes to like issues with youth and parents, we talk about multi-systemic approach, or parent to child approach. It's never the child alone. I've seen parents who will go online and then they'll email, oh, Edna, we have this daughter, could you fix it? And then when you see, we know already, anytime a parent is pushing a child, it's the parent who actually needs the help. It's the parent who needs therapy. Yeah, but they push the child. So when they come, I would tell them, look, you know what, don't worry. When God skips a generation, that is you. So you're skipping and we're going to work with you. But then you realize they go back into the same chaotic
But Dr.
system.
Edna, what are some of the simple signs that the average parent could identify that could help them?
Okay, so first things first, with children, you have to look at their behavior, right? So the behavior is like the physical symptoms, academic performance, social isolation. Maybe they are so much indoors, they are not coming out. And then some parents will say, oh, my child is very quiet. I've seen this in the pandemic. You'll be shocked, where they're actually planning suicide. So like a police officer said, but you think they are in the room just playing with their computers, they actually planning suicide. So you have to look at a shift in the normal dynamics. Maybe they are not talking so much with you as they used to. They are no longer motivated. So one of the things that in the pandemic has made things worse. So it's like they are not motivated, and when you ask them, why are you not motivated? They don't know, but it's simply out of structure, because they are used to like a schedule. So now, the parent isn't able, the teachers are not there, but the parent is able to provide structure. So these are some of the things, like very simple things. You look at their eating habits, you look at some of the things that they are doing with their friends, or the way they are behaving in terms of drug use, and they're using some of these psychedelics you might not know, but as a parent, just be observant. I've seen a parent saying, I saw candies in his bag, and I was like, when was the last time your son was eating candy? Those are like drugs. They are not candies.
So let me just, I've got this list here because I want to get to Isabel and Richard. I've got this list that was provided with the report that indicates that 1 in 5 children suffer some sort of mental health challenge. So it's saying to parents, here are the things that you need to pay attention to and act on. significantly lower marks in school. So if your child is customarily getting around 70, 80%, 90%, their marks start to drop drastically. Avoiding their friends and family. You notice that they used to hang out with all their friends. All of a sudden, they don't want to hang out with their friends anymore. They don't want to be around family members anymore. Having frequent outbursts of anger, changes in sleeping or eating. All of a sudden, I don't want to eat that type of food anymore. I'm going to be eating this. Acting out and rebelling against authority. Drinking lots or using drugs. Not using the things that he or she used to use before. Now, the reason why I'm bringing this up, Dr. Edna, very quickly, is because anyone and all of these supposed signs can be explained away so easily nowadays. It can be explained away, and I really wonder if we should put the blame in the parent's lap, because it's really easy to say for a child to say, oh, well, I can't do, my marks are bad because of online school. I don't like my friends anymore. They were bad people. I don't want to be with them anymore. And the outbursts of anger, it's because I'm frustrated. I'm locked up in the house all the time. That's why I'm angry. I don't want to eat that type of food anymore. I'm going to become a vegan now. It's better for me. Do you understand what I'm saying? I mean, every one of these signs can be explained away. And then once that happens, what position is the parent in?
So I would say that I'm not going to blame parents entirely, but I'll also say that it is their responsibility. You need to get some parenting skills, and life is dynamic, right? So we've never experienced a pandemic. Nobody gave you a manual, but there are resources. There are psychologists out there, there are therapists out there, pediatricians out there. There are people who can actually give you, or you can even buy some of these good psychological manuals on good parenting. And you should be open-minded and give yourself that flexibility to learn when you get to a crossroad. Speak to the people, connect with the right information. I think there's a lot of information, and you should be open-minded. You should be present as a parent. It's a skill, right? You need to acquire that skill as a parent, and you need to be intentional about it. And you should be open to receive from the community, from professionals, from traditional people, wherever you can get help to raise that child. And I know I have to leave at 1:30. So
Yeah, we're wrapping up. So Dr. Edna, quickly before I move and we wrap up, for adults, because you specialize in the adult primarily, but you understand where that stems from. For adults that would like to reach out to you to get their own counseling or their own assessment, clinical assessment by you, how can they get a hold of you?
So my email is edna. My last name, ARYEE at advancedhealth.ca, or you call my cell phone number 647-822-7798, or you just Google advancedhealth.ca and I'm there. You can call the office directly and maybe book with me, and we can take it from there.
Thank you, Dr. Edna. Thank you so much. Now, let's go to Isabel and Richard. So you two are the two that are dealing with the aftermath, in my opinion, right? You two are dealing with cleaning up the mess, is sort of say, from situations where maybe the parent or the household that these youth are coming from, they didn't address the underlying causes of the mental health challenges that they're now experiencing, and therefore, you guys step in. Tell us about some of the initiatives. Tell us very quickly, if you could, before we wrap up. I'll start with you, Richard, since we just saw that launch. Tell us about some of the initiatives that are underway right now with Keep Six that enables you to bring some solutions to these conversations. Are you on mute? Did you mute yourself?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
So at the present time, some of the things we're doing right now is to support individuals in the community and the mental health aspect, but also employment. We are working with other organizations to get individuals into the trade, into digital media, the tech sector, and so forth. We always have to remember that we're in a very difficult time right now, and it's very, very important for us to come together as one, as a collective, to help each other. And because we have members in our community that feels embarrassed when it comes to mental health. I've had many, many calls that has come to Keep Six where individuals are having problems at home, but the problem they have, they don't have the finances to be able to hire a Dr. Edna, and they're looking for what resources are out there for them. So what we try to do is put together the free resources along with other organizations that collaborate with Keep Six to give these members in the community the support that they need.
Fantastic. Love that. We got to talk about that too going forward. You're absolutely correct. There are so many members of the community that don't have the resources to be able to pay for a Dr. Edna, but there is still a solution to that. There is a way. If there's a will, there's a way. Now let's talk, Officer Isabel. Tell us about some of the current initiatives that you're involved with right now to help bring solutions to the conversation of youth mental health challenges.
Actually, I love what Richard just said right now also because we need to talk about it because that's one of the things that I brought to also the Toronto Police Service. It's how can we give resources to people that cannot afford it? And that's very, very important point. But so what we are doing also with the TPS, we had the mobile crisis intervention team that so we are training police officers to answer calls for a crisis call on mental health. So this police officer will work with the nurse, and usually what happens is when you answer that call, the nurse will be the lead of dealing with the person in crisis, and it's amazing. I've seen that. Last year I had to go back on the road and I answered several calls for mental health, and I learned so much from the way that the nurse are answering the calls. So that's one of the things that now we are doing with the TPS. We are making sure that we are working with the community to when we answer calls for crisis. But I mean, there's so many things that we have to do, and I think that the next few months will be very challenging, and we're going to have to learn very quick. And how are we going to learn the after COVID and all those changes that it's happening in the home? I think that would be, we have to think about it now. And the discussion, like Richard was saying, and the doctor was saying, we need to come up this some solution. There's a lot of people there that are there to help, but we have to work together. That's the bottom line. Is we have to learn to work together. That's, to me, it's like we have no choice.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And I agree with all of you. It's all about collaboration. And I love collaborating with individuals like you guys. I look forward to further collaboration in the community with individuals like Officer Isabel Cotton and Keep Six, Richard Miller, and of course, Dr. Edna. And I also want to say that I think that's a fantastic initiative for the TPS to be doing, is to include nurses that are trained to deal with crisis situations, so that we're not putting policemen that aren't really, or women that haven't been trained to deal with a crisis in a position to deal with a crisis in the way that you would deal with a criminal matter. So that is so very, very true. We know what happens in cases like that. The outcome is not generally good, but I'm so happy to hear that you guys are working towards bringing that as a part of, as a solution. So the youth mental health is big on our agenda here at GBKM Network. It's big on my mind, and it's going to continue to be a topic of conversation here at the network. And I want you to stay tuned to GBKM Network as we continue to discuss these matters going forward. Join my community partners, Richard Miller, keep6.org. Check out the Gangs for Tuition program. Follow Elizabeth Cotton. She's on IG. She's on Facebook. Support her. She's a big supporter of the community. And of course, call Dr. Edna. Okay? You want someone to talk to, call Dr. Edna. She'll work it out. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been another awesome show here today on The Ordinary People. I want to thank my panel guests. Thank you, of course, the viewer, the listener. Like and share the video, whether you're watching it live or on demand. And we will be back next week, same time, same place, with another blockbuster interview, all talking about the money for the black community, $225 million. He's getting unleashed on Thursday, the 27th, and we're going to have the money makers, the gatekeepers, right here on Saturday to talk about how you can get your share. Thank you once again, and tuning out from GBKM Studios, I'm Jacqueline Dixon. Cheers.
This is not your regular show. It is an interactive section powered by the masses.
You go to Nigeria, you wake up, you go come. I just said now, I don't go to Nigeria.
Where we discuss issues that cut across politics, security, health, current affairs, governance, and so much more. Slices of humor to keep you entertained and thrilled. We are the GBKM Street Talk Team.